don't have the luxury of going with the cheapest person.
Because they can't lose that
they
load.
can't lose that load. So if you think about it, even in terms of just like frozen shrimp, right? Some of these containers that come in, there'll be 50,000 pounds of frozen shrimp. So even if you look at the retail cost of shrimp, like let's say it's $5 a pound. If you have a 50,000 pound load of shrimp and it is $5 a pound, that's $250,000 worth of shrimp. And we're not even talking about just them having it delivered to the grocery store. We're talking about it impacting every single part of it, because everybody can relate to going to the grocery store and something's on sale and it says, sorry, we're out of stock of this. How are they out of stock of this?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on?
Right.
And so then if it's out of stock, then, okay, well, I need to have chicken or I need to have shrimp. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to another store.
Yeah.
So if Publix is out of it, then I'm like, all right, well, I guess I just got to go to Kroger.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a big part of it. And so Publix doesn't have the luxury of just basing it off of price, because the opportunity cost of them
not having it available
is much greater
Yeah.
than whatever $100 or $50 they might have saved.
Yeah. I mean, here's kind of just a pick in the brain question when
Yeah.
you think about, like, when you see these trucks going by,
Yeah.
and I know it's a wide variety, you always think of like heavy equipment, right?
Yeah.
But like, what's in here? Like, cause like even some of these silver trucks that are
Yeah.
like cylinder, I didn't know that like they're carrying milk.
Yeah.
You just always think it's gas or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, break down like the hidden things that are behind those metal walls,
I mean, a lot of times you never know what the commodity is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had
Commodity is what's moving.
commodity is what's moving. I mean, I've had coworkers that were bidding on NASA, bidding on delivering the space shuttle, right?
Yeah.
Because you really have to think about it. Every single thing that exists has to be. Everybody has a supply chain, and it has to be.
Would that space
delivered.
shuttle be like open, or would it be like hidden in the truck?
Oh, it'd be open.
That's what I was thinking.
Giant.
Yeah.
Multiple axles. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna be police escorts, and not to mention, you're gonna have DOT routing and the whole thing based on the size and
Yeah.
a lot of things like that.
Crazy.
But I mean, a lot of that stuff, you wouldn't. A lot of stuff you wouldn't even think about it. I mean, like some things that are being transported. I mean, like manure, right? I mean, that manure is being is being delivered from point A to point B for farmers.
Yeah.
So the farmers have to have certain things for their equipment, right, and to be able to operate their farm, and then their outbound is whatever the commodity or the food is that they're
Yeah.
producing, or the meat that they're producing.
So a question that I would have is, when you get to big stuff that has police escorts and DOTs like the space shuttle,
Yeah.
is that reserved for a certain caliber, or can like anybody kind of compete for that?
Anybody can compete for that, but it goes back to being an expert, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and really, when you look at what the stakes are of that load not delivering, if you can't do it, you should not be bidding on it.
Yeah.
Because number one, your company is going to probably have to have additional insurance and additional liability that you're going to be responsible for. And if your company doesn't have millions of dollars stashed away, and you make a mistake that costs your company $1 million, your company could be going out of business off of one of these loads. If you are a small
next day.
if you're a small broker, and I only have $100,000 of liability, and I have a mistake that costs $500,000 or $700,000, we're out of business. Simply, we're out of business. We can't afford to pay it.
Yeah, that quick.
Just that quick.
So let's like bring it back.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, actually, before we go there, would an Amazon, Home Depot,
Yeah.
but mainly let's see if you talk about Amazon,
Yeah.
is all their freight brokers going to be like in-house?
No, they use brokers. Because I mean, the totality of their supply chain is so giant, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you got to think a lot of their stuff is from China, right? And so the freight forwarder is going to be delivering it or the freight forwarder is going to be booking the
What's that
ship.
word you're saying, freight forwarder?
Freight forwarder. So what a freight forwarder does is it books space on the steamship lines or the ocean vessels. So if I give you the scope of what supply chain actually looks like, right? And so when you look at the tag of like a TV, or you look at your clothes and it says made in China, there's one or two ways that it's going to get here. It's either going to get here by train, or it's either going to get here by airplane, or it's going to get here by boat, right?
Yeah.
And so if it gets here by boat, it's going to come here on the port, which means that the container, it's arriving on an ocean container, and it needs to be pulled from the port and taken to that distribution center where it will be unloaded and then distributed around the country from the distribution center.
Gotcha.
And so the totality of their supply chain is so grand that they never could truly eliminate brokers, because if they eliminate, because again, it makes more sense for them to pay that margin as opposed to hire somebody at $80,000 a year who might have a bunch of a downtime, because you are increasing your chances of inefficiencies.
The more you talk about this too, I would assume that this is one of those like necessity businesses that can't tank, because I'm even thinking during the pandemic, like grocery stores couldn't stop. You know, a lot of stuff stopped.
Yeah.
But water still had to get delivered.
Yeah.
Food still had to get to a grocery store.
100%.
So freight brokers were still working.
Freight brokers are still working. And like I said, I mean, it's a recession-proof industry. And simply because people always need goods.
Yeah.
People always need clothes. People always need bathroom supplies. There are certain things that no matter what happens, so long as humans are existing on this planet, that they're going to have to need to be able, or have to be able to use, based on just being a human being. And that's food, drink, things like that, clothing, the bare necessities.
Someone told me they're like, you may think it's a recession, but let those trucks start running, and you'll really see a recession.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
You'll see beyond a recession.
Yeah,
you'll start looking like that, like apocalypse.
Yeah, because it's like, if you think like, and it's crazy too, because like we just see trucks on the highway, and we're just like, oh my gosh, this truck's on my way, but we're not thinking like these trucks are running the world. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so many people involved, from the driver to the company to that, but like we're not thinking about like, even though it's most likely not, but in a sense it is. It's like that truck is carrying your next whatever.
It's carrying your next whatever. Everything is all good until all of the stores are out of toilet paper or out of water or out of meat.
Yeah.
And then the price is doubled because there's scarcity in the trucking market.